guess most people know now that we are from Chicago originally. Grew up in Chicago, born and raised. Our late dad was a doctor, and mom was a teacher's aide and a nurse, as well. And a lot of music, in the house, In Chicago, it being in the Midwest, you're listening to all kind of music. You're listening to gospel, R&B, jazz, pop. So we had an array of music we were listening to. Radio stations, WVON, WLS. So we listened to a lot of music before I even really played music. And of course, my older brother Maurice was already a professional musician, playing on records at Chess Records with the late great Louis Satterfield, who ended up being my bass guitar teacher. Sad. And so that's kind of like how our background in terms of listening to music. When I look back at it, it was good that I came from the Midwest because I was able to listen to all different types of styles of music. I think if I grew up in New York, I probably would have been leaning towards just jazz, hard bop. But in the Midwest, because of the nature of the part of the country where it was, I was doing a lot of listening of different types of music. And then when I was like a teenager, early teens, 11, 12, I walked into the band room and I saw this upright bass. And I immediately, it spoke to me. It really spoke to me. Well, I think that's important. I think you should listen to all types of music, and listen to like music from America, music from South America, music from Africa, and being a bass player, holding a root down. By listening to all types of music, you're well versed at all different types of rhythm, and I would suggest going to see every player that you can possibly see. It's one thing to hear them on record, but it's another thing to see them and see what their styles are. There's so many great bass players today that you can. It's a wealth of information by some of the greatest bass players. I think in this era now, in the last 10 years, we've had some of the greatest bass players I think ever in the history of music. Bill Gates, they asked him what changed rock and roll, and even he said the Fender bass. That's what Bill Gates said. And I think in a certain kind of way he's right, because it changed how people approach music. It changed the different types of players. It changed a lot of different things on how people hear bass and the role of bass guitar. Yeah. On bass, my first bass guitar influence was Louis Satterfield. Great player. He played on a lot of those hit records with Maurice. Rescue Me, Chess Records. He worked with the late Charles Stepney. Just a great bass player, great concept. He was originally a trombone player, so he had really a lot of great concepts in terms of music. And I used to go over to his house every Sunday for like 5 years, and he would teach me like modes and teach me how to play in the studio. And he would put pieces of paper down to show me what it would be like in the studio when a chart would come by, learning how to read charts. And during the week, I would study classically on upright bass from Roddy Villar from Chicago Symphony Orchestra. So I had the best of both worlds. I had the classical background during the week, and then on weekends I had Satterfield, and then I played nightclubs, top 10, all those things. So it was a great learning experience. And then when Maurice asked me to come out to California, it really took my playing up to another level, because then I had to go up to another level of creating and making records. That was my first instrument. Then I took piano lessons a little bit, which I do recommend. That you do study piano, because in the piano it has all the chords, the harmonic structure that a bass player would need to kind of know where the chords are harmonically. It helps your pitch, and along the way you'll actually become a better bass player. And if you wanted to get into composing and writing and producing, as a lot of bass players have, as a lot of us have gone into behind the scenes working on music, and that helps you actually well as well. Well, we're working on Earth, Wind and Fire album, which we just got done because we recorded a live album. So that's kind of like going to be our record project, which is going to be really exciting because we recorded 2 nights. So we have like about 4 hours of music, 4 or 5 hours of music we're going through now. It's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of them, man. You know, when we got done with the That's the Way the World track, I knew it was going to be huge. Getaway. Then we knew that was going to be a smoker when we walked out of there. After the Love Is Gone, Head to the Sky. There's just certain songs that you sort of know, because really, with music, we're just like really vessels, we're just kind of doing God's work and just coming through us to translate to the people. Because there were even on some of those tracks that I left some bad notes on, that I had been meaning to go back and clean up, and they're still on those records, but a lot of those songs, were written from the heart. Our intention was, to write from the heart. That was always our intention.